My name is Karen Nelson-Field. I'm a Professor of Media Innovation at Adelaide University, and I also run a small business that is research and technology. So we are experts. My particular PhD is media, but we have consumer behaviour PhDs and mental availability PhDs, and basically we do sort of innovative research largely around media impact, but we also have lots of different projects around marketing effectiveness as well. But yeah, so we're pretty busy. I think it's important to say that Think TV are funded by the major networks here in Australia, but as an actual professor, it was really important for me to maintain my independence around the results. We don't take on work where the client instructs us what to say. So the first thing is that Think TV have been amazing by way of allowing us to look at the work, and the results are the results in essence without any interference. Secondly, so wave one was in essence trying to understand the overall impact of the three platforms, so looking at the difference between television, Facebook and YouTube, and in particular trying to understand which one has a greater effect in terms of cut through and also memory, so sort of understanding, you know, what impact at time of purchase these different platforms would have. And yeah, it was a big undertaking. So we started with looking at TV on TV. We looked at Facebook on PC and we looked at YouTube on PC to basically understand which platform had greater ad effectiveness. And how we did that is quite complicated and complex. So we built some software that enabled us to look at the same content cross-platform. We also built our own attention models, so we intercepted the camera in each of the devices and built essentially gaze models, mathematical gaze models, to understand if someone was looking at the screen, if they were looking at the ad, or if they were looking away. So that was tranche one. From the data that we collected, we were able to not only understand what the impact of the different platforms were, but also the why, which was really important to me as a researcher. And the core output of that was that visibility is king, meaning that the fact that TV has 100% coverage, and coverage in my language is the proportion of the screen that the ad covers, equally so 100% pixels, which is the size of the ad that's on screen, or the scale of the ad that's on screen. 100% of the time is why that impact occurred. So on the flip side of that, Facebook have lower impact from an ad perspective because half the time people are scrolling off screen. It's small by comparison to what else is happening on screen in terms of coverage. So the vital piece of work that came out of it was that anything less than 100% pixels and realistically 100% coverage is substandard in terms of an option for ad effectiveness. So we kind of, the one criticism that came up from tranche one was that the device has a greater impact than the platform itself in a way. I'll say, so Facebook and YouTube sort of said, well, particularly Facebook, that mobile is our optimum device. So, they said we don't really rate the results with PC because 95% of our customers or our reach look at Facebook on mobile. So, until we see mobile numbers, we don't really think that there's a genuine output here. So we listened and we said, right, well, we'll replicate it, but we'll do it on the mobile platform. But not only will we do YouTube and Facebook on mobile, but let's make it an even playing field. Let's look at TV on mobile as well. And we did that. So we adjusted our technology, we aligned, or we built the model to allow for orientation, because as you'd know, people watch content horizontally and in all different directions. So we adjusted our attention model for that. And I released the results last week in Sydney. And short story, mobile absolutely improves the impact, but it does it for all platforms. So yes, Facebook sales are higher on mobile. Yes, YouTube sales are higher on mobile, but so is TV. And more so of interest is TV still gets more sales. And more so of interest is the viewability results hold. So the reason why that's still happening is even though Facebook and YouTube, their coverage and pixels do improve on mobile devices, so that's why their stats or their sales figures go up, it's still not 100%. So again, we can see in our regression that visibility, which is a combination of pixels and coverage, is king. So it's a bit of a long story. I worked for News Corp when I was young, in my 20s, and I often say, all good Australians work for News Corp, being an original and Australian company. And we used to sell advertising based on how much of the page that the ad covered. And the reason and the philosophy behind it was that if you, as an advertiser, could frame the page so there was no clutter, then it must be worth more. Interestingly, 20 years ago, they didn't have any data to support that, but that was the thinking. And it makes sense because we know that clutter has a negative impact on your memory, right? So if you saw 50 things at once, you'd struggle to remember a lot of things. If you saw 2 things, you'd probably remember both, right? So thinking about that, and bear in mind, we couldn't look at clutter in the feed because we didn't fake the feeds. The feeds were 100% natural. So we didn't want to look at ad load in terms of numbers. We thought there must be something in them because when we were looking at the Facebook screen on PC in particular, so much is going on. So much is going on around it. So we thought there could be something in that. Is coverage an artifact of clutter? And so because of the technology that we built, we had that data because we were tagging all the ads, right? And we also had to measure, because every single screen, every single panel member had a different size screen. So we had to design the technology to understand the size of the screen. So by default, we had this data and we ran it through our system and ran it through our model, and sure enough, it makes a massive difference. So how big or how much the screen is covered by the ad, in addition to pixels, which is sort of interrelated anyway, has a huge impact on sales and attention. So yeah, it was kind of intuitive, but makes complete sense. For me, the next step is we've just released the mobile results, which you mentioned. We are also collecting for decay. So what we want to understand, so the work that we did was a moment in time. What we want to understand is which platform drives the sale longer, like can you remember it longer over time? So we're looking at decay rates. So how quickly or how long does that ad impact last, in essence? And we're trying to also understand, is that directly related to the visibility angle? So, and we haven't published these results yet, but the question will be, does visibility reduce decay, meaning that the memory lasts longer? So that's what we're looking at now. We're also looking at synergy effects. So some of the questions we get are, well, that's fine, somebody's watching a television, but they're usually on Facebook at the same time. So we are collecting for synergy effects. So do 2 devices, or 2 platforms, I should say, have an incremental impact over one single platform, over one single device? So that's what we're looking at now. Also looking at the 6-second ad. So a big part of online future is to drive the amount of seconds shorter. So we're actually intercepting, again, we're putting 6-second ads on TV, put 6-second ads on YouTube and 6-second ads on Facebook to understand if that improves the impact and how relative that is across platforms.